Team sport isn't about winning. Team sport is actually about belonging to something. All kids deserve the same opportunities.
What do you think number of young girls will be there in WA who would want an accessible sports, but they can't access them?
Thousands. Thousands and thousands and thousands.
Mm-hmm. Do you want to add more sports, more type of games, or just cricket only at this stage?
Cricket only. I wouldn't do it with any other sport.
Before we get started, please subscribe so that you never miss an episode of our cutting-edge contemporary conversations. Thank you.
Welcome, Margie. How are you?
Yeah, good. Thanks, Dev. Thanks for having me this morning.
Thank you for coming around. Could you please share your brief background and how do you come? What's the story to join Team Connect? And then a bit of a background.
Yeah, thanks, Dev. So very fortunate. I've got three gorgeous young adult children, my husband and I, who've always had opportunities, and they've always played lots of sport. And having lots of friends and playing team sport has contributed to them being happy, healthy young adults. And then as the kids sort of moved out of high school, I was thinking about what sort of volunteering roles I would like to get into. I was really interested in getting into youth justice. Went back and did a diploma of youth work. And as a result of that diploma, I actually did my prac at Banksia Hill Juvenile Detention Centre.
Wow, okay.
So I spent 6 weeks at Banksia Hill with incarcerated teenagers. And I came out of that prac with the realisation that those kids were experiencing disadvantage before they ever got involved in the justice system. And a lot of it was due to lack of connection with positive community activities. So I just started thinking about how we could create positive community activities for kids who are missing out. And it really seemed really simple, team sport.
Yeah.
All over Perth, all over Australia, we talk about the benefits of team sport for kids. But all over Australia, there are kids that don't have access to team sport. So for me, it was actually just thinking up a program where we could give opportunities for kids to just have fun and belong to a team.
So you started...
So I just thought up Team Connect and started it up, yeah.
Lovely. And could you talk a bit more of a few stories on how this Team Connect has evolved and for how many years you're running for? Yep,
sure. So we started up in 2018. Really with an idea, literally just had an idea, and I thought if it works, it'll take off, and if it doesn't, it won't. And it took off. So in the first year, we had 2 teams in Perth, and actually my husband and I funded it ourselves in the first year. We didn't have funding that first year, but I did kind of think that we just needed to try it and see what happened and see what the outcomes were. For me, it was always about the outcomes. If we get the outcomes, if we get happy, healthy kids who are having access to opportunities that we thought, or I thought, were supporting them to thrive, they were going to be the outcomes that we were after. So we started off with 2 teams, and then each year we've just grown. So we've got 12 teams across Perth this season, limited at the moment entirely by funding. So we've got wait lists.
Which sports you typically stay with?
So we only use cricket. Yep, which is
lovely.
Yeah, and there's a real reason for that. So cricket is a unique sport with its social aspects. There's a lot of things about cricket that make it very different to other sports. So the time on the sideline when your team's batting, certainly for kids that have never had an opportunity to play team sport, having teenage girls sitting on the sideline surrounded by good role models is huge. That's a huge part of the game. So they're sitting on the sidelines making friends, forming friendships, learning about good behaviours, seeing good role models, being encouraged to help each other pad up and find the helmet that fits them. All of those little life skills, cricket offers that. And then when they're on the field, they're all talking to each other, and you don't have to be a fast runner. You don't have to be moving quickly. You don't have to be thinking really fast. Everybody's involved all of the time. Everybody gets an equal opportunity to bat, an equal opportunity to bowl, and none of it is dependent on whether you're the fastest or the best thrower or whether you're even very confident. So it's actually a really uniquely inclusive sport.
Nice. And the 11 teams are across WA or?
12. So 12 teams across Perth.
Across Perth. Could you also talk in terms of what's the process of creating a team? You know, how do you interact with, how do you identify these are the people you want to work with? Yeah, so we work with government secondary schools. So we speak to the student services staff, so head of student services, the chaplain, the psychologist, someone who really knows the girls.
And when we go into a new school, we're really targeting a team of Year 7 girls. So that first year of high school, where girls have moved from primary school into high school, and they might not have made any good connections with a friendship group yet. So for that can be a really disruptive year for teenage girls. So we speak to student services, explain the program to them, and then knowing that they know their cohort really well, we ask them to identify the students. And we really put some parameters around that, which are fairly broad, but our criteria are really around someone who may not have had an opportunity to play team sport before, a girl who might benefit from playing a team sport. It might be that the school knows that the family doesn't have the capacity to support their child to do community activities. So we trust the student services staff. That's really important. We know that they know those girls. And when we involve the chaplain and the psychologist and the head of Year 7, and they work together to select girls that they think will really benefit from being in a team, and we don't need to know why. It's not relevant to us. We just want to have a group of girls who will love being in a team and who will thrive. And then once we've got that group of girls, we register, and Team Connect pays for everything. We register the girls to the local community cricket club, and we buy them a uniform. And we have a lovely uniform presentation where they all get given their uniform, and we make it very clear that they now belong to the local club. So this is not a team for the school. This is not a team for Team Connect. They now belong to the local club. And when the child belongs to the local club, the whole family belongs to the local club. So we really message to the kids that you and your family are now connected to the local club, and you're a really important member of the community. And we've had kids, when we present them with their uniform, they just burst into tears. They have never had a uniform other than a school uniform. So those little moments can be really, really powerful. And then once they've got their uniforms, we work with the school to identify an amazing staff member who offers to be the volunteer. So they then become staff member becomes a community volunteer. They run training sessions after school for the girls. And then once the cricket season starts, these girls play in the normal cricket fixtures as a team member of the local club. For example, we've got a team at Armidale Senior High School. They play for Armidale Junior Cricket Club as the Armidale Junior Cricket Club Year 7 girls team. They're not a Team Connect team, they're just another team at the club, and they play in the standard fixtures. So those amazing school staff on a Saturday morning are volunteers, setting up the shade shelter, setting up the ground and supporting these girls to have a season of cricket. And then Team Connect supplies all of the equipment, so that the girls and the school doesn't need to supply anything. We supply transport to get every single kid to every single away game, and a healthy morning tea for every game. So we really do the scaffolding in the background so that the girls have what a lot of other kids take for granted, a really fun season of community sport, just most importantly, feeling like they belong.
I'm going to take a step back in terms of, you talked about girls specifically in these secondary schools. What is the brief typically do you give to these chaplains, the officers or the student officers in these schools? How do you shortlist what a young girl would need or should be part of this team?
Yeah, so sure. We first of all, we explain the program and we talk about some of the experiences that other schools have had. And that's really important when you're talking to school staff, to give them some ideas about how it's run at other schools. And then our brief is fairly broad. We'll explain to them that this is a program that is about opportunity, and it's about removing barriers. So if we speak to the staff about the fact that our capacity is to remove barriers to participation, and then they identify kids that they know are experiencing barriers to participation. That can be financial barriers, it can be barriers around mental health. For families that don't have a car, it can be really simple. If a family doesn't have a car, those children automatically cannot be doing community activities because nobody can get them there. Cost of living, there's a lot of families at the moment, and the girls are very honest with us. They absolutely tell us they've got a car, but they don't no one puts petrol in it anymore. So we know that those families are not going to access community activities. So we trust the staff at these schools to know their cohort, to know their kids. And it's about really identifying kids who the child or the family has got barriers to participating in community activities, because we know that if children can't access community activities that support them to thrive, they will always be at a disadvantage. And if they're not connected positively to school and positively to community, they're less likely to finish school. If they're less likely to finish school, they're less likely to be employable. And for girls who are living in a really challenging home environment, creating an environment where they are building really positive friendships can really put a protective, safe barrier around teenage girls. So one of the things we really want out of this is that girls, and we see a lot of girls who haven't got a really good friendship group, they feel isolated, they sit alone at lunchtime. By the end of the cricket season, they belong, they've got a group of friends, and that can really change the way a teenage girl enters young adulthood.
I think it's very powerful in terms of the idea of belong and the idea of removing barriers. But we have, battered the idea of equality and equity all through. But I think, through action, through doing things so that you can give everybody an equal starting point and then give that parity, that's very wonderful. How do you... One step is belong, and how do you continue doing these good things? And how do you see, can you talk about some case studies or scenarios, what has happened in the past, not naming names, but some stories, in terms of how have you seen changes happening in these young little girls?
Yeah, absolutely. So we've got, I can think of one particular girl who was selected for the team because she had low school attendance. And that's always challenging because if they've got low school attendance, it's very hard to get those kids to commit to something. But that was the reason that she was selected for the team. So low school attendance and very few friends. So she was isolated, she was unhappy, and she didn't come to school very often. So we worked really closely with her to make it easy for her to attend training, to make it easy for her to get to games, and to support her really, really well when she did turn up, to really reassure her the most important thing was that she had turned up. Whether she played and whether she did well was completely irrelevant. She turned up. So for someone like her, we were rewarding her for just being there. And that was in itself really important. And her school attendance started improving. And I actually got a message from one of the school staff one day, just a text message to say, just letting you know, I've just looked out of the window at lunchtime and she's sitting with 3 girls from the cricket team. And staff had never seen her sitting with anyone ever before. So those little wins are actually really big wins. If you've got a teenage girl that is now attending school and has friends, and she's gone like that over the course of a cricket season simply because she felt like she belonged, that can have life-changing impacts for that child. Another story we had a couple of years ago, we had a young girl whose father was in prison, which we didn't realise. And this girl asked me how long she could play for. And so I questioned what she meant by that. She said, how many years am I allowed to play for? I said, you can keep playing year after year. We will continue to support you if that's what you want. How long do you want to play for? And she said, don't know yet, but I want, when my dad gets out of prison, I want him to come to one of my games and sit in one of those chairs under one of those trees, and I want him to see who I've become. And that, those are really powerful moments for me personally, because that is the impact we're having on a child. She's not only proud of herself, she wants her whole family to see what she's achieving.
And you can't quantify the outcomes. You can't quantify these things, but these are good stories to be told and to be told enough. Could you also talk about, in terms of 12 teams,
Yeah.
And then what's the next phase of growth looks like for Team Connect? What are you thinking of?
Yeah, that's a great question, Dev. So what we find is the girls in Year 7, we have a 90% retention rate for those girls wanting to return for a second season. So for teenage girls in sport, that's actually outstanding. Most sporting codes struggle to get their teenage girl retention anywhere near that. So we've got a 90% retention rate for girls who are really not scoring very many runs and are not taking very many wickets. That's not why they're returning. They're returning because they are having so much fun and feeling so safe and included and confident, which is what team sport is all about. Team sport isn't about winning. Team sport is actually about belonging to something. So these girls feel so connected to the team that all of the Year 7 teams want to return next season. So we're in a situation this year where all of our teams want to return, and we've actually now got 6 schools waitlisted wanting to partner with us. So we are looking at a really rapid expansion potentially, really quickly. We don't currently have the funding for that. We can't support that number of teams. But the demand from schools for their teenage girls to be supported in this way is huge.
And what are the challenges you face in terms of this expansion? What's the roadblocks for you right now?
The roadblocks right now, Dev, are funding. We cannot find the funding to support the teams, which I find really devastating. Our outcomes are that kids' mental health is improving, that they're attending school, that they're making friends, they're engaged in the community, their families are engaged in the community. So we support a lot of the parents to become volunteers if that's what they want to do. Then we skill up parents who have never been community volunteers to become community volunteers. So the whole family starts belonging to the community. So some of the outcomes that we're achieving, we know are life-changing. If we can change a girl's school attendance and it means she will finish school, that will change the rest of her life. So for us, it's actually really devastating to not be able to get funding for something as simple as getting kids to play team sport, particularly in a country like Australia, where so much of our chat about sport is that it's for everybody and that everybody plays it, and that the research shows how incredibly beneficial it is for young people to play team sport. But we're very quiet as a country and as a state about the fact that there is a huge percentage of kids who cannot access team sport, and team sport is a privilege that they simply cannot access. So I don't feel like it should be on me as a volunteer to get these kids into sport. I don't feel like it should be. I think it shouldn't. As a society, we should want all of our young people to thrive. As a society, we're all responsible for the fact that we want our young kids to turn into older kids, that turn into happy, healthy adults that are active members of the community. For that to happen, we have to act while the kids are at school.
Wow. Can you also talk more about, if you want to explain, why is there a scenario? What's happening with these young kids? So they are at a disadvantage. What are the typical trends you are seeing? What kind of these young girls? So what's the demographic you are observing?
So the teenage girls, certainly what we see is the reason that these kids cannot access community activities, and the reason these kids are not involved in community activities that may support them to thrive is really multifaceted. There's a lot of reasons. We've got a lot of kids who English is a second language at home. And that's fairly simple. If your parents don't speak English, they're unlikely to register you for the local sporting team because they may not be able to read the registration form. In that instant, that child is at a disadvantage because they're not accessing opportunities that other kids their age might be accessing. Families that don't have a car. If you don't have a car, you can't access activities. So there are some really sort of almost operational barriers, cars, language. But then there's financial barriers, there's mental health barriers. We've got a number of kids who've got a parent in prison, and we know the research shows that a child who's got a family member in prison is automatically at a disadvantage, and that their life trajectory is altered by that. So if we can step in at any of those moments and help that child get on a really good life trajectory, I think that's really important. Disadvantage can also be that you're a child that has got a physical or cognitive disability, and as a result of that, you're slightly isolated at school. We welcome every child into Team Connect. It might be that you're just a child that's got no friends. If you're a kid in year 7 that's got no friends, that in itself is a disadvantage. We know that that's a disadvantage. So disadvantage isn't purely financial disadvantage. It's not purely cultural disadvantage. It's not purely one thing. It's actually for us, it's on an individual basis. Which child would most benefit from someone stepping in right now and offering them an opportunity that they may never have had before and may support them to thrive.
And can you talk a bit more on the geographic distribution, how far we have gone to regional?
So we haven't gone regional. Would love to be regional, but funding obviously doesn't allow us to do what we're doing at the moment. I would love to think that this kind of opportunity is actually just available to all kids in all schools. I don't want it to be a little targeted program that picks a certain group of kids, because all kids deserve the same opportunities. And if you've got a cohort of kids that has access to opportunities for them to thrive, that automatically puts other kids who don't have those opportunities a step behind. And I don't think that certainly in a society as wealthy as Perth, I actually don't think that's okay. If we've got kids who can't access opportunities, I think WA needs to answer for that, because we can actually afford to support support all kids. So at the moment, we're just Metropolitan Perth. So our furthest south team is Kwinana. And then we're up in furthest northeast is Morley. And then we're looking next season, we've got schools and teams waiting in Ellenbrook, Swanview, so spread out even further.
Lovely. That's good. Could you talk about similar models or similar organizations on the East Coast, or have you observed similar structure there on the East? Or
No, so we're actually not aware of any organisations that have a structure similar to this, where it's an ongoing program where kids actually just sliding seamlessly into an existing community asset. So one of the really unique parts of Team Connect is we're not really a program or on itself. We're really actually just a facilitation model. The community assets exist. The community sporting club is already there. The school is already there. So we're really just facilitating kids to get from one community asset to another community asset. And then we offer an ongoing opportunity for those girls to return year after year. So we've got some girls that have returned for 3 or 4 years. And in that time, we've actually offered them the opportunity to do coaching courses, leadership courses, and we've got girls that have come back now and they are the coaches of the younger teams. So we're not aware of any other organisations in Australia that are doing something similar. There's a lot of programs that are sporting programs. We don't consider ourselves a sporting program. We're a community engagement program. And there are a lot of programs that offer a sort of a one-off sporting opportunity, like a 10-week session, or that's not what we're offering. We're actually introducing kids and their families to the local community club and hopefully setting them up to be community members for life.
And in your observation, what do you think number of young girls will be there in WA who would need or would want an accessible sports, but they can't access them?
Thousands and thousands and thousands. And I actually don't know how many government secondary schools there are in Perth, but even the most advantaged secondary school has got a cohort of kids, they're in every school, that is missing out for all sorts of reasons. And I think that I think that's not okay. So I think that we should be in every school, and I think we should be offering opportunities to kids in every suburb across Perth, and then ideally regionally.
Do you think there is an opportunity within the education curriculum to be added? Or is that still a facilitation piece? Or do you think this is an opportunity to be added as part of education curriculum or a sports curriculum or by the sports clubs, and either ways?
Yeah, so it's actually a really good question, Dev. So we have spoken to people from the education department. It's not seen as an education program. It's not really a sports program because we actually don't engage phys ed staff at all, because we don't want them to pick the sporty kids. We know that the sporty kids already often have a lot of opportunities. They're often the kids who put their hand up first. So I actually believe it needs to be a program that is owned by the community. I would love to think it was owned in each region by the local council, that it was a program. And I actually was out speaking to the City of Gosnell's mayor just the other day exactly about this, saying these are kids in the community, the schools are in the community, the local clubs are in the community. How do we get the community to own the program locally? And I think that is actually probably the best outcome in the long run, is that the volunteers come from the local area, the kids come from the local area, the school is already in the local area, and they just walk down the road and they're playing at the local club. That would be the ideal model, because I think that it takes it off. Schools are busy. Schools are already incredibly busy. They're already putting so many things on teachers, jamming things into the curriculum, and I don't think it's okay to give something else to teachers. And I also look at it that community sport, team sport, is a community activity. So I think really we need to work as a community to just help the schools get their kids into community activities without putting extra work on the teachers.
Okay. And what does good looks like to you? What does good means? And what does, do you want to add more sports, more type of games, or it's just sticking with cricket only at this stage?
Cricket only. I wouldn't do it with any other sport. And I sometimes explain it in that if this was basketball and the whistle blew to start the game, some of these kids would never touch the ball. The whistle would blow, the game would be over, and those kids would walk off and they would never have felt like they were part of the game. So that is not okay. So for me, it will only ever be cricket, and it will only ever be cricket because that is the sport that I believe has got the most social benefits to it. And we've got kids who have never played sport ever in their life. So they are picking up a sport, not only a new sport, their first sport at age 12 and wearing a uniform, and amazingly, because it takes a lot of confidence and a lot of resilience to walk onto a cricket pitch at 12, having never played the game, and have your first game. So the kids that do that, I'm in awe of them that they can even do that on their first game. But I'm confident that in cricket, they will find their place on the cricket pitch. I'm not confident that on a basketball court or on a football field that those kids would find their place.
Lovely. Thank you.
Thank you.